Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to the respected panel and lecturers. My name is Afdlin Haiqal bin Saifulrizal with student ID 2023858278, and I'm from class SR243 S1A. I'm under the supervision of Encik Nagumira bin Abdullah. Today I will be presenting my research proposal entitled Relationship between Lower Body Strength and Sprint Performance Among Deaf Football Players. Next, I would like to introduce the background of my study. Football is physically demanding sport that requires players to perform repeated high-intensity movement such as sprinting, accelerating, jumping and changing direction through a match. To perform these movements, players need good lower body strength because it enables them to produce greater force during explosive actions, which contributes to better sprint performance. However, deaf football players may experience challenges in balance and movement due to hearing impairment, which makes important to understand physical performance characteristic. Okay, now moving on to the problem statement. Firstly, sprint performance is one of the key factors influencing football performance, especially during acceleration and short distance sprints. Previous studies have shown that the players with better sprint performance are more likely to perform effectively during matches. Secondly, lower body strength plays an important role in generating force during explosive movement, which can contribute to improve sprint performance. Most previous studies have focused on hearing football players, while research involving deaf football players remains very limited. Therefore, most previous studies have focused on hearing football players. Limited evidence involving deaf football players. Now is the purpose of study. The main purpose of this research is to determine whether there is a relationship between lower body strength and sprint performance among deaf football players. By identifying this relationship, the findings may provide useful information for coaches and sportsperson in developing more effective training programs to improve athletic performance. Okay, next I will present about the research question. So this study is guided by 3 research questions. The first research question aims to determine the lower body strength profiles of deaf football players. The second research question is to identify the sprint performance times in deaf football players. Finally, the third research question examines whether there is a significant relationship between lower body strength and sprint performance among deaf football players. Okay, after establish the research question, now it's time to research objective. So the first objective is to determine the lower body strength characteristic of deaf football players. The second objective is to determine the sprint performance times of deaf football players. Finally, the third objective is to determine the relationship between lower body strength and sprint performance among deaf football players. Next, we move to research hypothesis. The null hypothesis states that there is no significant relationship between lower body strength and sprint performance among deaf football players. For the alternative hypothesis is a significant relationship between lower body strength and sprint performance among deaf football players. Okay, so next is significance of the study. Here we have 4 categories, which is coaches and trainers, deaf football players, sports science, and researchers. Next, I would like to present about the limitations. The first limitation is the sample size. This study only involved deaf football players from a specific population. Due to the limited number of eligible participants, the findings may not be generalized to all football players. The second limitation is communication. Since the participants are deaf football players, a professional sign language interpreter will be required before and during the test session to ensure that all instructions are clearly understood. These limitations, appropriate procedures will be implemented to ensure the validity and reliability of the data collected. For operational terms, we have 3. There is lower body strength, sprint performance, and also deaf football player. Next is literature review. Previous studies have shown that the sprint performance is an essential component of football performance, particularly during acceleration and short distance running. Players with faster sprint speeds are more likely to perform better during matches. In addition, lower body strength plays an important role in producing force during acceleration. Studies have reported that athletes with greater lower body strength generally contribute to better sprint performance. Based on these findings, previous researchers have suggested that improving lower body strength may contribute to faster sprint performance. So this is a conceptual framework from independent variable to dependent variable. We move to research design. This study adopts a quantitative research approach using a cross-sectional correlational research design. A quantitative approach is appropriate because the data will be collected through physical performance tests and analyzed using statistical methods. The correlational design is used to determine whether there is a significant relationship between lower body strength and sprint performance among deaf football players. The data will be collected during a single testing session using the standing long jump test and the 20-meter sprint test. Okay, now is sampling. The target population of registered deaf football players under the Malaysian Deaf Sports Association, which is MSDEF. This study is purposive sampling because participants must meet specific inclusion criteria that are relevant to the objective of the study. The final sample consists of 20 registered deaf football players. Since this is a specialized population with a limited number of eligible athletes, all participants who meet the inclusion criteria will be invited to participate. The inclusion criteria include players aged from 18 to 30 years old who are registered with MSDEF, while players with medical conditions that may affect their physical performance will be excluded from the study. So after determining the sampling method, I conducted a sample size calculation using G power. The calculation was based on a Pearson correlation analysis using the exact test family and the correlation bivariate normal model. The analysis was performed using a two-tailed test with a significant level of 0.05, statistical power of 0.80, and an expected effect size of 0.60. Based on these parameters, G power indicated a minimum sample size of 19 participants. Since the accessible population consists of 20 registered deaf football players, all eligible participants will be included in this study. Now we move to instrumentation. To assess lower body strength, participants will perform the standing long jump test using a measuring tape and trident standing long jump mat to record the jumping distance. For sprint performance, participants will complete the 20-meter sprint test and their sprint time will be recorded using a stopwatch. Finally, all collected data will be entered into IBM SPSS statistic for statistical analysis. As you guys can see, the data collection procedure start from approval from faculty, sports science and recreation, and finish at IBM SPSS statistics. Analysis. All collected data will be analyzed using IBM SPSS statistic. First, the Shapiro-Wilk test will be conducted to determine whether the data are normally distributed. A significance level of 0.05 will be used throughout the analysis. Next, descriptive statistics. Including the mean, standard deviation, minimum and maximum values will be used to describe the lower body strength and sprint performance of the participants. Finally, if the data are not normally distributed, the Pearson correlation test will be used. If the data are not normally distributed, the Spearman rank correlation test will be used to examine the relationship between lower body strength and sprint performance. Okay, this is my references. As you guys can see, I refer to 9 journal, and that's all from me. Thank you very much.